My name is Ethan Feinschreiber, and I have a passion for educating the world about snakes.
If you're new to the study of snakes, let me be the first to introduce you to one of the most common snakes in the United States, the ringneck snake. They're known for more than just their iconic ring. They're known for the bright coloration on their underside with which they use to scare off predators. Throughout most of their range in the US, they're a common find, but here in Utah, they're incredibly secretive. So secretive that you could count on your two hands of how many are usually seen every year. Throughout the US, there's many different kinds of ringnecks, most of which are small and have a dark gray color, whereas Utah's ringnecks grow unusually large and actually lack the iconic feature that gives them their very name. This is the regal ringneck snake, the most elusive snake in all of northern Utah. To find one, I'll have to be more persistent than I ever have before with finding a snake. They can be found in any of these mountain ranges, and yet are an extremely rare sight. This is because they live almost their entire lives underground, and will come up to the surface only a handful of times every year. No matter how optimal the weather or my snake finding skills may be, luck will always be the biggest factor that determines whether I see one or not. Nonetheless, I still think it's important to give myself the best possible chance by going at the right time. Spring. Springtime is by far the best time to look for these snakes because it's the only time of year that Utah receives moisture on a regular basis without getting too hot or too cold, which is the perfect combo for flipping snakes under rocks.
No, you don't.
Ugh. Oh, a gopher. Oh my god, that's a night snake. This perfect time period is very short-lasting. Soon, it becomes hot and dry, and the moisture these snakes seek lies far beneath the surface, certainly further than the bottom of any flippable rock would be. This is why I go rock flipping every spring to look for this species, and I've been at it for about 4 years, until one day, I didn't see any snakes, except for one. Beautiful, lichen-y rock. As you could tell, I was literally speechless, because I didn't know how to process seeing such a rare animal.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. No, I don't believe it. That is one of the most beautiful snakes I've ever seen.
Here we have it. This is the rarest snake in northern Utah. Spent about 3 to 4 years looking for this snake. I'll be honest, I'm having a hard time filming this because there's so much about this snake I want to share, and I don't even know where to start. This snake is an oddball in so many ways. The regal ringneck snake is an oddball not just because it sometimes, not always, but sometimes doesn't have a ring, but second of all, they get way bigger than any other ringneck subspecies. The only type of ringneck snake to not have a ring is the regal ringneck snake, which is what I have in my hands. I've made an episode on the southern ringneck in Florida. I found ringnecks in Louisiana. I've seen a couple different variations of the ringneck snake. This is easily by far the largest ringneck snake I've ever seen. And there's not exactly kind of like every 5 regal ringnecks you find, one of them doesn't have a ring. It's more of a locality-based thing. I am not aware of any ringneck snake in Utah that has ever been found that actually does have a ring. It seems every ringneck snake in Utah doesn't have a ring. And the same thing kind of goes where you find ringneck snakes close to Utah. For example, you can find them in eastern Nevada, and they don't have a ring. You can find them in southern Idaho, and they don't have a ring. You can find them in northern Arizona. Once again, they don't have a ring. However, there are other places where regal ringneck snakes don't have rings, like West Texas, and I think even parts of New Mexico. Now, I will say, though this snake does not have a ring, I can very much see where the ring would start, because the ring starts to come up on the side of its neck, and then it comes to a little point, and then it stops. So in case you're wondering, why does this freaking ringneck snake not have a ring? I'll be honest, I don't know. And I don't think anyone really does. We do know why this snake has this bright belly. What they do with this belly is try to warn any predator that tries to come across this snake and feed on it that it could be potentially toxic. This is known as aposematic coloration. When something's really bright, it means it might be poisonous or venomous. And in this case, this snake is completely harmless, a harmless snake to pretty much any predator. But to their prey, not so much. So this is also one of the only snakes in Utah that has a defense mechanism of playing dead. Often what they do is they will kind of curl up into these tight coils, very similar to other ringneck snakes. This is not an exception to the ringneck snake, by the way. All ringneck snakes tend to play dead. I was expecting this snake to play dead long before now. It's actually a good sign the snake is not playing dead, because that means it's not stressed enough to feel the need to do that, which is really good news for me. I mean, another thing that you'll see this snake do is they'll curl their tail. He's doing it right now. When this snake is not turned upside down, you don't see any of its pretty belly. The red on the bottom of their curled tail right here does show, even when the belly doesn't. So these snakes, when they go after their prey, they're not constrictors because they actually have venom. This is a mildly venomous snake, but once again, completely harmless. So handling one is not a danger to me. They don't try to bite. This has been a really docile snake with me. But I will say that venom could be potentially lethal to the things that it eats. Ringneck snakes are known to eat pretty much anything they can find underground along with them, like invertebrates. But regal ringneck snakes get so big that they will eat other reptiles, such as skinks and other lizards. But their primary diet is other snakes. Can you believe that? A ringneck snake that likes to eat other snakes. Regal ringneck snakes get so big that is what they like to go after. And in Utah, these snakes have been documented eating racers, but they probably will go after almost anything, and maybe even other ringneck snakes. There's not really any place to go or method to use that is a surefire way of finding this snake, almost like kind of like a guarantee. I can almost guarantee you, if you flip rocks in a decent place, there are snakes here in Utah that I can almost guarantee you'll find. And even milk snakes, one of the rarest snakes that I've made an episode on. I feel pretty confident with saying that is a very findable snake if you know where to be and you know what time of year to look for them in. This snake, not the case. There's really no pattern to finding these snakes. These snakes have been found in temperatures as high as 90 degrees and in temperatures as low as in the 50s. And then they've also been found in fairly high elevations to elevations pretty darn low, just down in the middle of the desert floor. There's really no pattern as to what sort of habitat they prefer. They can be found in almost any habitat, and they've been found in the rain, they've been found just after rain, they've been found just before rain, they've been found under rocks, they've been found on cloudy days, they've been found on sunny days. There's just no pattern. They really do range pretty much all over the place in western Utah, and yet finding them is next to impossible unless you get stupidly lucky like I have today. And this might be the only one I see for the next 5 years, who knows. Now, like other rare snakes in Utah, these are fossorial, meaning that they live almost their entire lives underground. Not a crap ton is known about this snake because it's so elusive. It's hard to know where, if these snakes are even around us, if they're always hanging out underground and never coming up to the surface. The only snake I would mistake this for, like at a very first glance, would be something like a racer. Racers are generally, when they're adults, a uniform olive green and have a bright yellow belly, but no spots on their belly. If you see a racer of this size, it's going to usually have at least a little bit of pattern on it, because they have pattern when they're juveniles and they sort of lose it as they get older. So do these snakes make good pets? And I will have to say probably not. There is a lot more research, I would say, that needs to be done on this snake to know if it's a good pet or not. And I will say they're probably not the most picky eater out there, but a snake that likes to eat invertebrates or other snakes, probably not a good pet. So if you ever see one of these snakes, especially in Utah, do not keep it, because they are precious. For all we know, there could only be just a few, and that's why they're so elusive, is because there's not very many. But chances are that's not the case. However, I wouldn't take a chance on it. I would just say, release it back into the wild after you see one. Thank you so much for taking the time to educate yourself on the rarest snake I have ever found, the regal ringneck snake. Thanks for watching.
It has been my dream to find one of these snakes for so long, because of how unique they truly are. From their unusual size to their ringless neck and stunning underside, I would easily count this as my best find so far in my 6 years of pursuing herpetology. If you enjoyed this episode of Snakes on the Brain, let me know by giving this video a like, and if you want to learn about other snakes I've caught, make sure to subscribe.
Of playing dead. Now, as I said, their aposematic coloration of that bright belly warns that